So let's talk about those descriptive statistics again, meaning the mean and the median, the standard deviation, the quartiles, all of those things. Those are called descriptive statistics. So I want to just make sure that it all makes sense to you. What do skewed distributions typically have? Well, typically in a skewed distribution, we have something called an outlier, which of course means that it's something that doesn't fit with the rest of the data. Well, how do those affect the median and the mean? Do they affect the median? No effect. There's nothing that changes with an outlier because remember, a median we're counting in from the outside, and so that's one of the values that we wouldn't take into account. For the mean, however, it is very strongly affected by the outlier in whichever direction the outlier is. So we have an outlier that is greater than the data, it makes our mean higher. If we have an outlier that's less than all the data, it makes our mean lower. Again, looking at this data set, there's 5 pieces of data. I would have to add up all of these values and then divide by 5. So if I take all of this, I divide by 5, that gives me a value of 72. So mean is 72. The median is the middle value. So counting in from each side, I get a value of 84. Now, which of those makes more sense in terms of the values that I have? Well, it seems like the median makes more sense because all of my values are in the 80s except for this 22. So notice that small outlier brought my mean down. So my median would be a better choice. Again, just to summarize what we've learned in the past several lessons, if I want to talk about a summary of quantitative, I would do a histogram, a stem and leaf plot, or a box plot. I would talk about the mean, median, and mode, anything crazy like outliers, etc. I would talk about the center and spread, either the mean and the IQR if it's not symmetric. So the median and the interquartile range always happen with skewed data. So not symmetric, meaning skewed. I would talk about the mean and the standard deviation if it is symmetric. Make sure you know the difference between these two. That's a very, very important concept. So when I ask you to describe the mean, or excuse me, the center and the spread, you need to choose the correct one. And again, I'm going to talk about unusual features, multiple modes, if there's gaps, if there's outliers, etc. I'll talk about all of those things when I summarize the data.